Taiwan has been under the threat of China for decades. After losing the Chinese Civil War in 1949, the Nationalist Party of China retreated to Taiwan and declared itself the Republic of China. Since then, China has been waiting to cross some threshold of tactical superiority. China is assertive about claiming Taiwan as its own, while Taiwan seeks international support to maintain its autonomy and resist unification. However, a pressing question lingers in the minds of many. Will Taiwan become a part of China before 2030? Before we begin, subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon to never miss a video from us. Every leader since Mao Zedong has reaffirmed the importance of uniting Taiwan with mainland China. Today, only 12 countries officially recognize Taiwan as a country, with the United States being a key ally. To closely understand the fate of Taiwan and its sovereignty, let's go back to 1950, when it all began. In 1950, Taiwan became an ally of the United States, which was at war with Communist China in Korea. The Americans deployed a fleet in the Taiwan Strait between the two to protect its ally from possible attack from mainland China. However, in October of 1971, Beijing replaced Taipei as the representative of China at the United Nations. This change marked a shift in international geopolitics, as the UN subtly lowered Taiwan's importance in the global order. But in 1979, the actual confusion started to take place. The US established diplomatic relations with China, but also committed to assisting the defense of Taiwan. America backed the One China policy, which claimed Beijing as the legitimate government. Amidst all of this, the US also established trade and military ties with Taipei. 2 decades later, China tested missiles near Taiwan's territory. It wanted to scare the voters on the island during their first democratic presidential election. Eventually, in early 2000, the Nationalist Party of Taiwan lost the election. Over the next 5 years, trade links between the two sides improved, both by sea and air. This friendship lasted for quite a long time, but not long enough. A candidate from the opposition party won the election in January 2016. Tsai Ing-wen became Taiwan's first female president, bringing the pro-democratic party to victory. Since then, Taiwan's fight for sovereignty and independence has always been backed by the United States. Amid China's growing influence in world politics and the trade market, America plans to lure China's attention into a conflict. CCP was aware that Tsai Ing-wen was going to win the election, so in early 2015, China started preparing for an invasion. Credible satellite imagery confirms that in 2015, China constructed a building that closely resembles Taiwan's presidential office building in Taipei for military training missions. Chinese troops were seen practicing an assault on the building, as if the invasion was right next door. Furthermore, on March 5, 2023, U.S. Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy sat down with Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen in California. Beijing could not stand this betrayal from the breakaway island, so the Chinese military pursued a series of exercises encircling Taiwan, including live fire drills, naval deployments, and ballistic missile launches. Again, on April 8, 2023, China announced a specialized military team called Combat Readiness Patrols and dispatched dozens of fighter jets and several warships toward Taiwan. Taiwan currently produces more than 60% of the world's semiconductors and over 90% of the most advanced chips. These chips power everything from mobile phones to electric cars, and they make up 15% of Taiwan's GDP. But the CCP doesn't like the idea of being dependent on a breakaway island for semiconductors. Since the United States economy and military heavily rely on Taiwanese chips, they have a major stake in preserving the peace in the Taiwan Strait. But the question is, for how long? Recently, American President Joe Biden announced new measures to increase investments in the domestic semiconductor production industry. He plans to incrementally reduce the dependency America has on Taiwan in chip manufacturing. The United States government has also announced big grants for domestic chip plants, which attracted companies like Intel, Samsung, and even Taiwan's very own TSMC to compete. A whopping $39 billion in direct grants is set aside to revitalize U.S. chip manufacturing. In the last few years, Taiwan has been strengthening its military alliance with the U.S. The small island, which has not been officially recognized by the U.S., has already gained $20 billion worth of military aid in 2 years. With China's enhanced military drills in the Taiwan Strait, The island state has gone on a military shopping spree because, military aid aside, Taiwan already has on order more than $14 billion worth of US military equipment. Taiwan's military, although smaller in size than the Chinese military, has been increasingly well-trained for this exact scenario, an invasion by mainland China. But there's a catch. The island has only about 162,000 active service members, with 1.6 million more in reserve, whereas the Chinese military massively outnumbers Taiwan in every metric. But there is a significant advantage on Taiwan's end: the distance. The invasion fleet would need to travel 128 kilometers in the Taiwan Strait before they could even land on Taiwanese soil. Even if this is possible, a huge fleet would have to be assembled, and massive stores of equipment would have to be packed into hundreds of ships. Before reaching Taiwan, the Chinese Navy and Air Force would be exposed in the open for hours, which is a huge military disadvantage. At this point, it seems almost all democratic nations support Taiwan, but the support ceases to materialize when there's an actual conflict. Except for Russia, North Korea, Iran, Pakistan, and a few other countries, every single country is in favor of preserving Taiwan's independence. In an ominous start to 2024, Chinese President Xi Jinping said in his New Year's address that reunification with Taiwan is inevitable. Just a few days later, on January 13, 2024, Lai Ching-te won the Democratic presidential election in Taiwan. Since he is a member of the Democratic Party, Xi Jinping is not particularly happy about it because he preferred the opposition instead. But there seems to be more than what meets the eye. According to NBC News, the Chinese president referenced predictions made by US military leaders and called it propaganda in play. Xi Jinping claims that he never gave a hard deadline on when the reunification will occur. Some believe that China plans a digital takeover of Taiwan by disrupting its semiconductor facilities. This can create a huge bargaining stance on Beijing's merit. While these predictions might seem like a movie plot right now, let's not rule out the fact that what's not tangible in today's world is still pretty close digitally. On the flip side, whether there's a war or not, it seems as if China is playing the long game to its benefit. Basically, by maintaining the threat of an invasion, China can keep Taiwan in check without committing to the risks. The only leverage Taiwan has in the geopolitical sphere is that it controls the semiconductor industry. Ever since the invasion of Taiwan became a mainstream topic, major superpowers started getting concerned about their dependency on this little island. This prompted the United States and China to revitalize their chip industry, while other nations followed their path. Once the domestic chip industry is self-reliant, it's only a matter of time before the US and other military superpowers bail on Taiwan. I hope that's not a shocking thing to say in 2024. To this date, nobody truly knows when and how the invasion will take place. This uncertainty has given rise to many conspiracy theories, and the government-controlled media are fueling this story to shape their own rhetoric. Personally, I believe that engaging in any sort of war is detrimental to every country and every single person in this world. The major world leaders are aware of this. However, the constant need to preserve power and influence can make the same peace-seeking leaders commit horrific crimes against humanity. I believe China will not invade Taiwan in this decade. However, once the semiconductor leverage gets ruptured, the uncertainty will loom again. See you guys in the next one.